Thank you for joining us on this nice, warm summer day. This is our first Cohort 2 meeting for the summer. And today we have built an agenda that is reviewing a lot of the information that we've already provided. One of the reasons for this is it's always good to have reminders. And then the other reason is we have a lot of new faces on the screen today. We were just talking about how this is the time of year when there are changes in districts with leadership and staff. And so we want to just kind of give a little update. We also want to put out to anyone in Cohort 2 that feels like they need to touch base with us because they are just getting started and are needing some support to get up and going. Please feel free to reach out to us. We will schedule a time to meet with you. Okay, so a couple reminders that we wanted to start off with is a reminder to everyone in Cohort 2 that the students that you are transitioning into your district from CDS need to be registered in your district. And I stole this little graphic from the Early Childhood Summit that I just attended last week. The Sanford School Department has done a fabulous job building programming around the transition to kindergarten. But I thought that this is an appropriate graphic to share with all of you about some of the activities that they do to welcome children into kindergarten. These can be easily applied to welcoming children into your district through this transition and into pre-K. So just some helpful suggestions. None of these are required, but you have to remember that this is new for parents as well as they're transitioning to working with a school district versus working with child development services. Some of the suggestions are to have an informational night where parents and children can come in. I know that this is tough in the summer when you are cleaning and waxing floors and getting schools ready. But one of the suggestions on this sheet that I'm sharing, this graphic that I thought was great, was just inviting them to come visit the playground, right? So that might be a fun activity in the evening or some afternoon, is to invite all of your new families to just visit your playground and come see the school, see where they would enter into the school, if your school is open and available, to invite them in. So once again, this is also where you might be able to connect with families to give them more information about your school. If you have information about the first day of school and the bus routes and all of those things that I know that you're pushing out, but this is another opportunity to share with your new families that you'll be working with. So some other suggestions when you're thinking about setting up registration for students, and I know many of you have this all embedded into your school district, but just some other helpful hints is you can put this into a flyer, you can add it to if you have a social media page, or some school districts also announce this transition and for new families in their local papers if they use that. This is also dovetails nicely with your child find responsibilities, is connecting with your local pediatrician's office or any other community organizations. One of the school districts in Cohort 1 did a little swag bag for their incoming families that had like a book to read, and they had a backpack, and then like their school mascot, they had a like welcome to the new little tiger group, like something like that, to just involve the families at that level as well. Also, just wanting to be mindful of our multilingual families or families that might need accommodations, that you are making the registration possible, the registration process as accessible as possible for these families. So if you have multilingual families or new Mainer families that you are providing assistance with that. One of the things that I heard at the Early Childhood Summit this week from the parent panel was just some really amazing stories about how families don't understand the language that we speak every day. So they were not sure what a screening was. What is a screening? They felt like their child was going to be tested. Should they prepare their child to be tested? They didn't understand that they had to register their child. They thought they could just show up at a school and their child could go to whatever school they picked. So you have to remember that families, not all families understand the school language that we use and the school processes that we use. So just making sure that everything is really easy to understand, that you have visuals, you have step-by-step instructions, that you are, if you have multiple languages in your community, that you're having information translated for them. And then even just a short video of how you actually go through that process. I know in this digital world, we are also used to like, okay, I used it today. I couldn't remember how to do something. I'm building this PowerPoint. So I Googled it and watched a video on how to do something for the PowerPoint. We're all very used to accessing media and to help support us when we have a question. Any questions about the registration process for our families before I move on? And Jen, do you want to take a second and explain that our student information system is down right now, correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah, Synergy is down right now. So you can not enter any information in there. They're changing to a different platform. I'm not familiar with what the platform is. I'm not sure if Kim Hall or Kathy are on this call, but they are in the process of changing the platform. So more information will come out shortly on how to enroll the students.
Right. We've received quite a few questions about they've gotten all the information and then they weren't able to enroll them. So we just wanted to make sure that you all knew that information as well. Okay, so next I'm going to talk a little bit about the Memorandum of Understanding, or the MOU. And I know that we use this word all the time, and there's many different meanings when we say MOU. For this specific MOU, this is the MOU that we're required to have between the SAU, the Maine Department of Education, and Child Development Services. And really this MOU is to establish basically who is doing what this first year to get SAUs up and running with taking over the transition to FAPE. So we are on our end, we are working on the language of the MOU. We need to update it from last year to include the rate for services that CDS may provide for SAUs. So we're embedding that into the MOU. So we're going through that process on our end, but we're still meeting with school districts. We've already met with quite a few here today. And so those are being scheduled for July and August. And at those meetings, we will discuss if you're interested in having CDS provide a service for you, what that is. And so we have the rate sheet that all of you should already have. And then the local CDS director will be at that meeting. And we will be having a conversation about what services you may need to start the school year. Just know that we will be meeting with you monthly to go over the MOU, and that can be updated at any time as well. So let's just say you run into a situation where you need a service from CDS, and you would contact one of us and we would set up that meeting. Or if you know that you're going to need a service, we can do it at the monthly MOU meeting as well. Once that first MOU document is finalized, it will be sent to you for your review and your superintendent's review and signature. It then goes back and it is signed by our Commissioner of Education, and then you will get a copy. If we meet monthly and, well, when we meet monthly, and if you update it, need it updated, we will send you an updated copy for signatures, and then Director Frazier will sign those updates to any sort of changes to the MOU. And then you will also get a copy of that. Any questions about the MOU process? Many of you have already sat through it. They're fairly painless, and most of the districts know what they need. And if not, we have a conversation about what we would talk about the first time we meet if they need something before school starts.
Sandy, there's a question in the chat about just the interaction between Synergy, the district's SIS, and Sync. You're able to address that.
I can't see the question.
So the question is, just to confirm, they'll get the student information, they'll load it into their each SAU's student information system, or SIS.
Yes.
And then they are not going to need to interact with or pull from Sync after that. The system that's called Synergy that's being replaced right now is the state system that sort of pulls information from an SAU's SIS ASAP. No, it takes the information from your student information system, and that informs what we know at the state.
Yes, so Sync will no longer be used. Each SAU can use their own student information system and their own IEP system. So you will need to, if you haven't already, you can upload or import all of your IEP information into your own IEP system. And then when you register students, you'll be putting them into your student information system. Was there another question in the chat? No, okay. Right. Okay, the next reminder is about the preschool readiness assessment that was sent to each Cohort 2 school district. If you have not completed that, if we could get that from you as soon as possible. And if you're not sure because you're new and you're sitting here today going, I don't even know what they mean by a preschool readiness assessment, that's okay, just check in with us. You can email Jennifer or myself. And I'm realizing I never introduced myself when we started. I just assume people in Cohort 2 know me, but email either Jennifer or myself and just say, I'm not sure if we've done a preschool readiness assessment. We can let you know. The next steps that we use with that preschool readiness assessment is we review that document on our early childhood special education team. We then look at specific data, and that helps us guide our technical assistance for the school districts. And that could be either individualized for your school district, or it could be for our Cohort 2 informational meetings that we will be having. So it might be like, okay, we see a pattern of there's many schools that have rated themselves, needing support in this area, or needing more information, or not quite sure where they're at. And we will do a informational session on that. Or it could be that a specific school district had a pattern of responses that leads us to offer them specific tailored professional development as well. This is a requirement of joining the cohort. And it is part of, once we have this, we can then send your SAU a letter from the commissioner that is transferring the responsibility of Child Find and FAPE to the SAU. One other thing, we've mentioned this quite a few times in our cohort meetings, and when we're meeting with SAUs during the memorandum of understanding meetings, is that if you are wanting more in-depth support about learning about your mixed delivery system, and I kind of put a brief description in this slide for those that are new. So the mixed delivery system is the system of early childhood education that is in your community that is used to support children in the preschool age. And we are, as we are building this transition, we are also helping support building this mixed delivery system for early childhood education in the community. And so if a district is wanting more detailed information or support from a team to look at how they would collaborate with programs in the district, please reach out to either Jennifer or myself again, and we will set up a time to meet with you to look at how we can support you with that. Okay, so I keep talking about this team that we have, and I'm super excited to share with you that we have added some folks to our team here to help support the growing number of SAUs that are joining the cohort. And also, as Lou teased earlier, we are not having cohort 3 start in August, but we will be gearing up for cohort 3 this fall. So we know that we needed some more support. So many of you already know Jennifer Hopkins. She has been working with us as the project manager for early childhood special education transition. And someone new to the team is Holly Green, and Holly is probably not here today. I think she has today off. And she is a executive assistant that will be helping us as well. You'll probably see her name come through in some emails. So this is Holly. And then I didn't introduce myself, but I am Dr. Sandy Flack, and I'm the Deputy Director for the Office of Special Services and Inclusive Education. I'm also helping lead this transition with many other people here on the screen today. We have a whole team at CDS in the department that have joined together to support this transition. And so I am excited to announce that we have 2 new early childhood special education coordinators joining us. We have Trisha Kurt, and she will be starting in August. That is why she doesn't have an email next to her name yet, but we will get that out. And then we have Jackie Hersom, and Jackie, I'm sure you're here today. One of the things that we are doing is sort of dividing up the state so that we can provide some tailored, regionalized support. So I will be serving SAUs that are in the Down East, First Step, and Opportunities in York regions of the state. Trisha is going to support Aroostook, Keeds, and Two Rivers. And Jackie is going to support Reach and Mid-Coast regions. I will say that Trisha and Jackie are new to this, so there will be a period of time where I will be supporting them getting to know all of the information that we've developed over the year. So you might see me at some of the meetings as well if you're working with Trish or Jackie. So the next thing I wanted to touch base on was our cohort 2 meeting schedule. So we had put out a survey at the end of the school year last year. Out of that survey, we received 18 replies. The day that received the most votes was Wednesday, and the time that received the most votes was 3 o'clock. There was 16 responses for that. So we are going to continue with our Wednesday at 3 o'clock cohort 2 meetings, and they're going to be on the 2nd and the 4th week of the month. And those Zoom invitations will go out soon, I'm assuming, Jen, correct? She's nodding her head.
Yes, it'll be coming out soon.
Okay, great. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions.
Sandy.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hi. I have a specific question. We are a district in RSU 12 that some of our towns have school choice. And so we have a student in one of those towns and the parents would like their child to attend pre-K in a town that's not in our district. Would we handle that just like we do our K to 12 students where we pay tuition and then they bill us for those special services?
I see Megan is unmuting.
Yep.
Megan, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, Stephanie, for this age group, in part because we do a quarterly count. And because we do that quarterly count, we're able to recommend a superintendent agreement. What I'd like to do is follow up with you. If you can just provide a little more information about which SAU catchment area the program is in. There are sort of, as you can imagine, sort of different decisions that happen or different guidance we get depending on if they're a cohort district or not a cohort district, and so on from there. So if you can follow up with us with a little more information, that'd be great.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Great question.
I have a question.
Hey, Laura.
Hi. So I think I heard this in another meeting, or maybe just, I don't know where I heard it, but in terms of registering for because we're doing 3 and 4-year-olds, and when they're in our pre-Ks, we register them as just a student at that school in pre-K. So if they are not in our pre-Ks, let's say they are at the Early Learning Center or the Y or Head Start, they still need to be in our SIS Power School. And would you recommend, like, because we can register them not with a schedule, but as like 4-year-olds can be in one group, 3-year-olds could be in another group, or how would you recommend they sort of be managed if they're not in our public schools?
That is a great question. I'm looking to see if Kim Paul is on here. I don't think she is, but I believe that
They're in another meeting right now, so.
Okay. Thank you, Paula. I believe that is what other school districts have done, is created a separate classroom for the students that are located out in the mixed delivery system, but they still need to be registered.
Thanks.
I also want to share that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jen. Do you want to add to that?
There's a question in the chat. Has there been a change in the 3-star rating for daycare that we are able to partner with? There was discussion that the requirement star rating may be changing. And I see that Jackie just answered as I was reading it.
Yes. So we have rolled out, we did this last spring, that child cares or preschools that are partnering with school districts are required to have a level 3-star rating system, level 3-star rating on the quality rating improvement system. With that being said, we have implemented a 2-year waiver. So if it is a 2-star program that's working to be a 3-star program, they can apply for this waiver, and then they have 2 years to work towards that 3-star rating. And we've had many programs already go through that process. If you have a program that you're thinking of partnering with that is 2-star and you're having those conversations, you can have them reach out to Jackie Hersom, and she can help facilitate that by sending them the waiver application.
I just have a follow-up question for kids that are not in our pre-K program. So if the parents are choosing to keep them at their current daycare and that it's not in our area, and we made a FAPE option for them to attend our preschool program, and the parents are choosing not to, but we are still going to try to work with that pre-K to provide services. Do we register them even though they're not in our district?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so this falls under the serving children who are not in your, what we call catchment area, right? So could you collaborate with CDS to provide services at their preschool location? Could there be a superintendent's agreement for them to with the school district where their preschool program is? Ultimately, if you are offering a program that is comparable and works for the family and where they can receive their FAPE, then that is the offer of FAPE that you can put to the parents.
So, so let's say, if the area, they want to keep their child at the Boys and Girls Club in Gardner, let's say, and that's MSAD 11. So we would do a superintendent's agreement with MSAD 11 and then work with CDS to make sure the services are provided.
This is where it gets really tricky while we're in this transition in the next few years, where we have some districts that are in cohort and then some districts that are not in cohort. And so ultimately, if you are making that offer of FAPE and the parent chooses not to, then it would be just like if a parent were choosing not to access FAPE. The tricky thing is that we don't want parents to have to make a choice between working, like is that program providing them wraparound care that is allowing them to continue working? We don't want parents to choose between working and getting their child special education services. So is there a way that we can work with that family to provide that child what they need? If CDS is already going into that program, that might be the solution to that. Is there the availability for that child to receive drop-in services at your school? These are all things that you should be talking about in an IEP meeting when you're talking about the, least restrictive environment and where that child is receiving their programming.
So if they're not receiving anything from us, we don't have to register them, but if they are, we do.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Amy, can you contact me so we can walk through this one together?
Sure.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to explain this, and yet every child, it's individualized. And that's kind of the piece to this that I don't want anyone here walking away today like, oh, Sandy said this, because I don't think I have all the information about this child. And was this decided at an IEP meeting? Is this just because it's a new student? Has there been any communication with the family? So there's lots of pieces that I'm not quite sure of, that it would be hard to pick apart here today in this forum.
Okay.
And just as just another, like, because I know we're getting into the weeds, but for Auburn, it's a little bit easier because we're just a city and we don't have, it's just whoever's in Auburn, we know we have them. I'm assuming, so when we have these 3 and 4-year-olds registered in our Power School, it's really just so it can be uploaded into Synergy or whatever the new platform is, in the state database. So it wouldn't be like a regular registration where they're filling all this stuff out because we need their information because they're in our public school. So that's sort of how I'm looking at it. And then we would only need them to be registered if they have an IEP. So if we're going through the referral process, we wouldn't need to register them. They'd only be registered if they actually qualified and had an IEP, correct? Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
There's another question in the chat. Can you talk about our FAPE responsibility for students being homeschooled?
Yep. So homeschooled is not really a term that we use. I mean, we can use it. Once again, this is one of those is that I would need more specifics about this student's situation, because home sometimes is the program for children this age that parents choose. So I don't know, Lucy, if you want to unmute and share a little bit more information so we can talk about this.
And I've emailed back and forth, and I still just am trying to wrap my brain around it. And I think your feedback that every student might be different, as opposed to it being a global do this or do that, helps. But this particular student is being homeschooled and has speech and OT services on their IEP, as well as behavioral consult.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Lucy? So, you know, kind of as we do with all of our students who are in, when you think about K-12 home instruction, the statutes apply to students who are required to be in school. Pre-K is a little bit different because obviously you don't have the same compulsory attendance requirements for pre-K. However, there is a distinction in terms of if a family has said and has worked with your SAU to say, nope, we provide home instruction or homeschooling to our children, and you know every year they complete the survey saying that they're included in the home instruction count for that SAU. Then in those cases, IDEA kind of works the same way for preschool as well, in terms of when a family says, no, I want to do home instruction or homeschooling, they're waiving their FAPE obligations. Now that is my reading of it. That's my understanding of it. But again, it's helpful to understand the extent to which the family has actually registered or stated that they are going to provide homeschooling or home instruction to their student. That's the point where we really would need to sort of talk that piece through with you.
Thank you.
Sandy, did I hear it correct that the department does not accept homeschool applications for children 3 and under school age 5? I wasn't aware that they did accept homeschool applications for that age. I just don't know.
I don't know the answer to that question, but what we know is that it looks different for this age group.
Okay.
And maybe Megan has an answer to the home instruction application process. So
yes, a family is able to just submit the home instruction form. If you've never seen it, looks like this. And a lot of information. If you just go to the Maine Department of Education website, you'll find all sorts of information about home instruction, which I'm putting into the chat there. So families frequently who are providing homeschooling or home instruction want to, they want to comply with the attendance requirements of the law, and at the same time also want to limit exactly the amount of information in some cases that they're sharing with the state, including the date of birth of their child. And so they could, there's nothing that prevents a family from saying, my 4-year-old I will be providing home instruction. And so they could submit that. Because that is not a required attendance age, the school district is not likely to count that child as one of their home instruction numbers, especially if they're not offering a universal preschool program. So that's where it kind of goes district by district. But in terms of what is legally required of families providing home instruction, they are not legally required to say, yes, I am providing home instruction to my student. And that's where it gets a little complicated for the purposes of providing FAPE. Does that sort of answer things, Lou? I see you kind of processing.
Well, I know when I worked in CDS, every 3, 4 not school age 5 was quote unquote homeschooled by their parents because that's where they lived. And many had no access to public pre-K back then. And what we did, of course, was provide itinerant speech and OT and sometimes behavioral consult, either at a center that they could go to, or we provided it in the home. So it almost seemed to me at that age group that if a parent says they're homeschooling, it's kind of irrelevant for our purposes. I said, we'll still provide OT and speech if it's on the IEP, but whether you're providing something at home is kind of legally irrelevant to our duties, I think.
Well, I'm assuming with homeschooling, their families are not required to register their students. So that might be one of the points that, like Megan was sharing, families are not wanting to share information that would then.
How about we consult with folks
Yeah.
on the department end who work more closely each week with home instruction students to figure out how they manage and what they do in those cases where frequently families submit the form to say all of my children, including 3, 4, and non-school age 5-year-olds could be included in it, and what happens to those applications. So let me get that information and come back to you so that we can provide more clarity.
The last follow-up to that would be for schools. If they don't register and have them in their system, how would they be reimbursed through our financial stream? So that's another question. I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah, that's what we need to go back and
Right.
And work internally. And so for those that are new, this is what we're doing as we are developing FAPE and Child Find for our SAUs, is that we are using the questions that come up from you individually or in our Q&A sessions. And there are some times that we have to go back and really think this out as a team and get input from other members at the department to make sure that we're providing clarity to everyone here on how we proceed with information. As you can see, there are many different situations that come up, and they are so unique and individualized that we are putting together procedures and policies. But we know, as you know, working in a school district every day, that you are figuring that out as it applies to children and families that you work with. Any other questions that we can help you with today? One last thing that I want to remind everyone here is that we do have a Google Drive, and Jen, when she sends out the slide deck from today, will also put the Google Drive link in the email. And in that Google Drive, we have templates of letters and other information that SAUs in cohort 1 have shared with us and have given permission for us to share them with you. We have samples of contracts and MOUs, and you are free to use that. And if you want to share anything that you've created for others to use, we would love to put that in the drive. So you could just send that to me and I can upload that for you.
You do have another question in the chat about adding new staff members to NEO so they can get communications from the department and from us on this. I think they would just contact you.
Yep. If you have a new director or new staff that you would like added to our email list, please email Jen Hopkins or myself and we will add you. It doesn't automatically notify us on our team if there is somebody new in NEO.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Paula has a question.
More of an update. This is cohort 2, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good news. Funding for cohort 2 was processed yesterday. So you should be getting your first quarterly payment within the next 7 to 10 days for this wonderful project that we're all embarking on together.
Right. And so Paula, those that received early funding, is that subtracted from this
Yes, it is.
allocation? Okay,
Yes,
just
it is.
want everyone to know if it's not what you thought it was, that may be the reason.
And if you have questions about the money that you're receiving, the funding, please reach out. For business managers that are on this call, you can reach out to me anytime. For those that do not have business managers on here, please let them know because they're the ones who are going to be getting the money and wanting to know what to do with it.
Are we emailed or is somebody emailed or alerted to that?
No.
Okay.
I'm working on something. I'm trying to make a pretty little document that says, hey, we just sent you money and here's what you're getting and why. But no, not at this time. A part of the plane we haven't built yet. It's kind of a restraint system that is not in the seats yet for the plane that we're building while it's flying. We got wings, we got landing gear. Those are good things we didn't have in the first year, just so you know. Steering mechanism. We're getting there.
So Paula, does that money show up like our usual money from the state shows up?
Yes,
It
it
goes to
does.
the same exact place? Okay.
Yes, it does. But it is earmarked specifically for this purpose.
Okay.
And it is supposed to be put into a different fund and revenue code because it needs to be separate, but it comes in the same manner as all the other funding from the DOE.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Carrier pigeon in some cases up north, but
Yes, so Bonnie, we just started meeting with SAUs to develop the MOUs. And we have them scheduled out. Do you have one scheduled yet?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, yeah. You do not need to have the MOU yet to get the funding.
Mm-hmm.
as long as we have counts that Jennifer has provided regarding either those students with IEPs or those that are within the child find, then there is funding coming. And again, I'm working on something to send out that kind of tells you what to expect for each quarter. I just haven't had an opportunity to get it ready yet, so apologies. So if you want to reach out separately to me, I can send you a note on what you're getting for this first quarter. This is not additional funds for expansion funds. This is just the funding for this is the program as we calculate it. So additional funds, maybe Barb can talk about those if she's here or somebody else.
Yeah. So Bonnie, I'm assuming you're talking about your project that you're doing. And
Yes.
that's a different,
Pot
that's
of
a
money.
different process. Yep.
I am here if people have questions. I think Lori Whittemore's made it pretty widely known that we work to set up classrooms, and she does that through CDS. But the additional little supplies like curriculums and other classroom supplies are being purchased by the school district and then reimbursed through my team at the Office of Special Services. And then there's an application process for larger things like if you need a bathroom reno or a van or something like that, there's an application process. And Sandy, they would reach out to Jen Hopkins for that application, I think. But ultimately, I'll be paying the bill. So ultimately, you'll send that all in for reimbursement from my team at the Office of Special Services.
Two different
Somebody
pots
just
of money.
Somebody just commented on my glasses, and I didn't realize I look like a bug with the glare. Sorry about that. Hey.
The pot of money that my team sends is upfront funding based on the first day of the quarterly counts. The pot of money that Barbara is referring to is a reimbursement model based on expenditures that you've incurred. So a little bit different. It's a blend of all the parts that we do here at the DOE.
Yeah, you can look at what we do for funding at the special services level as one-time costs, things that should not be wrapped into your ongoing program costs year over year. So we're trying to keep your allocation in that sweet zone where we're covering all your expenses, but we're not artificially inflating it so that we have to have discussions later on. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Once again, as Barb just said, if you have any questions, reach out to us. We are here to help you. And we have another cohort 2 meeting scheduled. Let me see.
I think we have one scheduled that was office hours
Great.
for cohort 1 and 2, and I will be sending that link along when I send out the slide presentation.
Thank you, everyone.